Hey guys, it's Julie Hamilton with Life Builders, bringing you simple tips to build a strong and healthy life on. I hope you are having an awesome week, and I'm so happy the warmer weather is here finally. It's May, April showers bring May flowers, so I'm glad that it's getting warmer. We've had a bit of a rough week, got a couple pieces of really tragic news. But I wanted to say to you that I am so grateful for the support of you, the community. When I shared on my Facebook something tragic that's happened this week, you guys just sent me texts and messages and all these things that reminded me that God's put me there for a reason. And you guys were just the most amazing community. I just wanted to say thank you so much for that. Well, today we're going to be talking a little bit about venting. You know, we're all taught when we grow up that if you vent, you're going to feel better. If you're mad at somebody and you go tell somebody else or what happened or punch your pillow or whatever, you're going to feel better. But, you know, this show is about simple tips to build a strong and healthy life on. So one of the tenets is we have to be able to deal with anger in a healthy way. Good morning, Abby. Great to see you. And so I was reading this book, Originals by Adam Grant. Good morning, Miss Hicks. How are you? Who knows where in the world Miss Hicks is? I don't know. This book, Originals by Adam Grant. And he talks about one of my favorite chapters in Originals is how nonconformists move the world. It's about being an original. And one of my favorite chapters he talks about is how to rock the boat and keep it steady. And he goes into the methods that like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. used to train people for nonviolent reaction and different revolutions around the world where they have used these tactics. But one of the things is he begins to share some research about venting. And hey, good morning, Amy. Thank you so much. Love ya. He shares this research about venting and whether it hurts or harms us. And I thought it was so interesting. I've never heard it before. And my goal is always to bring you something new, something that might change a little bit, tweak a little bit, degrees that we're going to get us to a great goal. And this one, so what happens is, we have this emotional system. And so when we're go on the system, whether we're going to start something new or whether we're angry and we have those really intense emotions, that's like a go on our emotional system, our physiological system. And when we are calm, that would be considered a stop. Good morning, Rhonda. Great to see you. And so he did this experiment, not he, but some researchers did this experiment. And in the experiment, here's what they did. They set up a group, and this group wrote essays on whether they were pro-life or pro-choice. And to make them really, really angry, what they did was they had a person evaluate the paper, but instead of writing about the topic, they wrote, worst paper I've ever seen, poor organization, poor writing. They did all this stuff. Hey, Livy. Sorry. Liv. So they did all this stuff to tell them about how bad their paper was, worst paper I've ever seen. And so they give these back to the group of people who wrote the paper. Now they divided them into three groups. One group was the group that was to vent. So they had a punching bag, and they could punch the punching bag as long as they wanted, picturing the face of their accuser. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Tristan. And then the second group was the group that could also punch the punching bag, but they had a distraction. They were to punch the punching bag, think about how to get fit, and they were looking at a picture of a person who exercised. And the third group was the group who was to have no reaction at all. So they were to just sit quietly at the computer for 2 minutes while they told that the computer was broken and we're going to repair it. So they have these three groups: the venting, the distraction, and then the calming down. And what they found was so interesting, because what they did at the end to find out how it fueled or calmed anger, what they did was they gave each of the subjects an opportunity to blast their accuser with loud noises. And one thing that it showed, and I thought this was very, very interesting, the group that blasted their accuser with the loudest noises, the longest noises, the most extreme noises, they could turn the volume up and down and control the length of it, was the people who vented. So what that showed is that the venting, it gave rise to more anger. It made them have more revenge on their attackers. And what it happened, one of the guys got so mad, he even punched right through the wall. One of the venting guys got punched right through the wall. And then you saw in the distraction group, they were still doing that. Their systems were still on go, but it didn't produce the same amount of revenge as the venting did. And then the control group, their systems began to kind of slow down to the stop, and that was great. But the point, what they share in the book was what we need to learn how to do instead of venting. Venting just makes you take revenge on that person and it fuels your anger. What they suggested to do is when you're angry, focus on the victim. Focus on the victim. So for instance, you see parents all the time, like the Polly Klaus Foundation. So Polly got kidnapped and killed. So they created a foundation for children who get kidnapped. Remember the guy who did, what was it, like World's Most Wanted or whatever? His son had gotten kidnapped, and he ended up creating this show where the people could find children, help find children that were missing. I just saw a thing about a girl who got killed when she was taking a selfie when she was trying to drive, and now her parents are creating this movement to make teens aware not to take selfies and drive, or the parents from Sandy Hook, or and you see all the time that these parents and people that are going through these terrible tragedies, instead of just funneling that anger, funneling that revenge toward the offender, they end up taking up the cause of justice. And that is, they say in scientific terms, the best way to deal with your anger, to take up the cause of justice by focusing on the victims and by focusing on those who have been harmed and hurt. And that is one way that we can do a better job of managing our anger. I need to go back to a couple comments. Let's see, I think I said good morning to Tristan. Rhonda, this is the book Originals by Adam Grant. And so if you're in a situation, I see my friend doing this, she just got out of an abusive relationship, and now she started a page called She Is Clothed in Strength, and it's all about women getting free from abusive relationships. So if you're in a situation where you're tempted to vent, you're tempted to be angry, just remember, venting is going to keep that anger feeling on, that anger switch on, but instead look for a way that you can help the victims. And I think that's going to be a much more healthy way of using that anger to get justice going. And that's what they did in the nonviolent protests, is instead of, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., instead of focusing on, the enemy, he focused on, this is the future of our children, and here's how we can make it better. And that helped them be able to do the nonviolent protests. So just a thought for you this morning. I'm going to be putting that into my life, and I hope you will too, because it really, I was like, oh, because we always hear venting is like the best way to get rid of it. So, well, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, thank you for your love and your support. And I just thought, this is the topic I was planning on talking about. So despite all that's happened this week, I just want to continue on with this topic. And so I go live your big, amazing, beautiful lives. I love you all. You are awesome. Have a great weekend. Bye.